All right, we begin the second Perek of Yoma, Daf Chav Beis Amud Aleph. Gishmak. So now, being the last mission discussed the Chuma Sedeshin on Yom Kippur, which is where we know that made sense. So now we take a little digression, and we're going to talk about the Chuma Sedeshin that was done every day. Then we're going to talk about the pious that was done eventually. We're going to talk about the other lotteries that were done in the base of Mikdash, and in the third parak, we're going to come back to Yom Kippur. Alrighty, here we go. Barishaina, originally, Kol mi shereitz l'ter mesam mizbeach. Anybody who wanted to do the Chumas HaMizbeach in the morning, Teirim, so you could do it. Ubizman Shemerubin. What happened? It means you got there, you went up and you did it. So, Bizman Shemerubin. If there were a lot of Kehanim, so this is what they would do. Rutzen, they would run and go up to Vakevish on the ramp. Kol hakoidim eschaveirei be'arba amos. Sounds like whoever is first to be within the top 4 amas of the kevish, you're within 4 amas of the mizbeach. Whoever gets to that point first, zacha, wins, and that's a schus for him. It's like a pious. He has the right now to it. He's zacha. Okay. What happens if hayu shnei and shav? What happens if they were equal? If it was a tie?
Like still the slum.
Correct. Hamemuna Aimer, the Mamuna, he was the Skankayan Gadol, or the one in charge there. So he would say, Aimer Len, he would say to the Kahanim, and Rashi says, all the Kahanim now are back in. Right? If they, the ones running up tied, now everybody has a right to join the pious. Hamuna Aimer Len Hetzbiu, throw out your fingers. Close. Umal will describe it. Mahin maitzin, what fingers would they throw out? Acha, they could throw out 1 or 2 fingers. The ein maitzin agoyel, but you couldn't put out your thumb. B'mikdash. Okay, what was the deal with this? So we'll take a look at the Rashi spells it out. Ba'arichus. So take a look at the Rashi Hitzbiu from the lashon of etzba or hoitzi. It's a mixture of hoitzi etzba. Hitzbiu, hoitzi etzba. Take out your finger. Haitziu etzbay sechem. Take out your fingers. Kol echad yira etzbay. Everybody would show a finger. Can the parish like come on by Pirkin? Makifin va'imdin. Ba'agul. They make a circle. They'd gather in a circle. One of the parish would say the reason, or Yishami says the reason why they did a circle because it's much harder to count how many people are in a circle as opposed to if they were in rows. If it's in rows, you could count in 1 row and you already know how many people are in the other rows. In a circle, it's a little harder to calculate, so it makes it harder to trick. To play games here. So they'd make a circle. Ba Mamuna, the Mamuna would come. V'noitel mitznefes me'al reish shel echad mehen. He'd take the hat off of one of them. Umimenu payis maslumles, and from there he would start counting. Umaitzi kol echad v'echad etzboilim, and everyone would take out a finger to count. V'amamuna eimer kol sha'aminin kola bai hu zeichad. Whoever I'll say he picks a number. Umaitzi mipiv minyan, oimeya oishishim. He'd say either 100 or 60, whatever was a much larger number than the Kahanim that were there. He'd start counting for the person whose hat he took off. And he'd go around the counting until he finished. Misha, meaning Kalabai, who are Zeicha? V'chein Kalapai says, this is how all of the lotteries were done in the base of Mikdash. Hitzbiyu. To stick out a finger, 1 or 2 achas ishnaim, you can do 1 or 2. Mark know what that means. And then, but you can't stick out your thumb. It's because the thumb, if it's crowded, so then if you could just put your hand out, the guy will end up counting you twice. So if you chap, then maybe you'll win if you had 2 fingers out or you had 1 in, so you couldn't put out your agoidel. No thumbs. Okay. Back to the Mishnah. So we got a story. Shnei and Rashavin, 2 were running up, and there was a tie. Shnei and Shavin v'Ratzav v'Oil v'Kavish are going up. V'Dochap echad me'enes chaveri. One of them pushed his buddy. V'Nava, and he fell v'Nishbarag and broke his leg. I remember seeing a version somewhere where he actually killed him. I wasn't recently. I remember seeing that at one point. I don't remember where. But the story our Mishnah relates is that he broke his leg and then he became a mum. It was apostle.
How long was this run?
Good question. The ramp
is very big.
How big? Who remembers? We had it. It was documented. 32 amos was the length of the ramp, I think.
Pretty significant.
Am I right about that? Somebody says, yeah, Rashi says it. Shleishim Ushtayim Arich. It was 32 amos long. Okay? So how much is that? 32 amos. If we're generous, we'll call it 64 feet. But it's, to the. What's the 30-yard line?
That's not so
Not so
bad.
much.
No,
I was thinking
racing.
they're getting like football.
It's like 20
Right.
yards.
It's a 20 yards.
Combine, they do 40-yard dash.
Yeah, this
Not-
is
it's
20.
It's not a long run, but if you're
20,
running
22.
against
But it is a nice incline, though.
Right.
You got a nice incline, but it's not very, 20 yards. How long is that? It's not so long. It's a dash.
What if people like worked out for this?
It's a dash. We'll see. There was a. Okay, so that was. So he pushed the guy off. Which I wonder if that was. I don't know.
No bikes.
That could almost be instinctive.
Scooter?
The Kivan, not electric. The Kivan Shiro Bezdin. And since Bezdin saw Shabali the Sakana, this is getting dangerous, Hiskinu, they made it Takana Shla, you terminus Mizbechel Payas. They said, all right, enough of this, we're just going to do a Payas. Okay, now the Mishnah says, Arba Payas Hayushan. There were 4 lotteries in the base of Militia. Was that Payas Rishon? The Payas for the Chumas Hadeshin was the first lottery. Where does this Lashon Payas come from? So, the Meiri says that a Gairo, a lottery, was called a Payas. It's a Lashon of Pius. Because this way, everybody will Mepayas everybody, we appease everybody. And there's no jealousy.
So everyone's got equal.
Everybody's got equal shot. So there's no Leitia Kinam B'nam, it's Lashon of Pius. It's Lashon of appeasement. People are, everybody's okay with it. It's just a Payas. Okay. In fact, the Gemara, great kasha. Vame ikara, my time like to keep the lover about it. Like, what took so long? Why do we have to wait? Like, why do you have to have a race? Why couldn't you just make a Payas to begin with? You like the kasha?
I like the race better.
What? You like the race, but come on. You had 4, just do a Payas. So, this is interesting. Listen to this. This is fascinating. Me'ikara suffer, kivan davidus lailihi, loy chashivalu, loy asu. They weren't so concerned there being people, even from the mission sound like, they didn't, they weren't expecting too many people. This is early in the morning. He says it a little differently. It's an avodas laila. It's like almost not like a real avodah. So they had more machshav it so much. This is what they assumed. And that's why it even sounds like the race was only secondary. The first thing is whoever showed up got to do it. That's how the mission starts. Merubin said have a race. It sounds like there weren't too many many people came for it. So that's what they there was no need. People would just go up and do it. And then more people came. So they started a race. Then Kivan the Chazu, then they saw the Ka'asu. People were coming. And not only were they coming, but the Sakana. This became like the most very chashav avaida. People wanted to do it. Therefore they were Masakana Payas. Okay. Fact Gemara, Baharei Evarim Uperdarim, the Avodas Lailahi, first Mishnah in Bracha, it's like the Cholom Evarim is also Galalayla. So Vitakin Larban Payas, but there's a Payas for it. Mar says, no, it's not Avodas Laila. Safe Avodah Diyamahi. That's the end of the day's Avodah. So Mar says, yeah, but Hainami. So with that logic, this is Tchilas Avodah Diyamahi. This is the beginning of the day's Avodah. The Amr of Yechal, like Rabbi Yechal said, Kiddush Yadav l'Trumas Hadeshin. If you wash your hands for the Trumas Hadeshin, lemachar in tzarach l'kadosh. Shekar Kiddush mitchilas avoda, because you already began doing an avoda of the day. Mitchilas avoda, you already began the avoda. So you see, mitchilas avoda sounds like the Trumas Hadeshin is the beginning of the avoda of the day. Okay, it's not what Rabbi Yechanan meant. Ema shekar kidesh mitchila le'avoda. He already did something for the avoida. Not that the Chumas Hadashin is the Tchilas avoida, but since you're in Makadosh Yadayim already for the avoida, that's enough not to require you to wash your hands again. But not that. Again, the Gemara is holding to its point that it's a avodas laila, and that's why Chazal didn't feel it was chashuv, or the Chazal didn't think the Kehanim would be machshav it, and therefore they didn't feel it necessary to institute a pais until they saw that it was becoming popular, and they came to a sakana, and therefore they instituted a pais. Ikadami, others say it like this: Me'ikara savor kivan diika oinashina layas. Listen, people are sleeping. You know what I mean? So you got to wake up. So people sleep late. So they figured it wasn't going to be such a rush for it. Keeping the chazud the asus, since they saw people coming, but and they also saw it was getting dangerous. Takinu la rabbanan paisa. The rabbanan made a pais. It's at night also, so people could fall asleep. So why do you need a pais for that? But the rabbanan paisa, and the rabbanan still made a pais. Says the Gemara.
What's the fact that people fall asleep? You mean this is a way of waking them up?
No, that they don't have to be. There's no one to do it.
Well, what does that have to do with the running?
No, the question was, why didn't they originally institute a pious
instead of
them either just going up or running for it?
Right.
Why did they originally institute a pious? Like, what took them so long? So the point was that it wasn't so popular. That's why. So the question is, why not? Is it because it wasn't popular because it was an avodas laila? The Igad Ari is saying no, it's because people were sleeping. So then they were asking, people were sleeping. Okay, but what about the chalavim and evarim at night? It's also a nighttime thing. So people also are sleeping. So why are going to sleep or sleepy? So why are we concerned for? So why'd you make a pious for that? So when it says shani migna mimekam, going to sleep and waking up are two different stories. You can push off going to sleep much more easily than you can wake up early. Right? Going to sleep late is much easier than going to sleep than waking up early. So that was the story, the Gemara. Okay. Says the Gemara, the takanta lahachi sahavi. Takanta lahagi sahavi. L'chaira, there's another was the takana was the reason for the pious because of this? There was another reason. There was another reason to do this pious, and that was because whoever got to do the pious, whoever got to do the Chumas Hadashin, got to do the next few avodas in the Beis Hamikdash by himself. So, the reason to do the pious for the Chumas Hadashin is because the person who does the Chumas Hadashin also sets up the Maracha and sets up the Shnei Gizri Eitzim. So, that's the reason for the Takana. Not because of the Chumas Hadashin, not because of the fighting. It sounds like I don't do fighting. The time like we learned in a Brisa. Misha Zacha b'Chumas Hadashin, Yizke b'Sida Maracha b'Shnei Gizri Eitzim. The one who was Zaycha, the one who succeeded or who had the right to do the Chumas Hadashin, he had the right to set up the Ma'aracha, which is the fire on the Mizbeach, and the Shnei Gizrei Eitzim, which were two long logs that were put on top of the Ma'aracha. So l'chayra, that's the reason why you need a pious, and that's an avodas and that everybody wanted to do. So l'chayra, that's the reason for the pious. Rav Ashi explains, Shtei takanas havu. There were really two takanas. Me'ikara savar layas. Originally, they thought no one's going to come. Even the chazud, they saw people coming. Va'asunami, the sakana was getting dangerous. Takinu la paisa, they made a pais. And given the takinu la paisa layasu, but once they made a pais for it, people stopped showing up. You know what I mean? Well, I should wake up early, and I might not even get to the Chumas Hadashin. I mean, it's an amazing thing, right? If there was a race, I can win the race. At least that's up to me. But if it's not up to me, so what's the point of getting up if I'm not even I might not even win? So therefore, they had to make another takana. Tekinu la paisa, keeping the tekinu la paisa la Amri mi yemer de Misrami. Amri, they would say to themselves, mi yemer de Misrami lan. Who says it's gonna happen to me? So the tekinu then they made a second point that mishazach b'trumas hadeshen yiske b'sidu me'aracha b'shnei kisveisim ke'echi the naisiv and efaisu. That way everyone will come because that they're for sure going to want to be a part of. Gewaldig. Okay, now let's just see the top thesis. I forgot what it was about, but I think it was a good one. Tamali, thesis going on the shani migno mimikam. Getting up, going to sleep is easier than waking up. Tamali, amai loy mishani davedes evarim v'darim kisher b'yan ulahachi takin rabbanan paisa v'leisi l'insiyeh kiven the kisher b'yan v'chaviva lahu dakati laka inashina. Okay, I don't remember this. I don't think I did this, but it's a good kasha. Tais is asking. Tais is asking that who is sleeping? Hector, the burning of the fats and limbs is an avodah that can be done by daytime, and it should be done by daytime. If you didn't do it by day, you could do it at night also. It's not a avodah that you do at night. So they do a pais in the day, and they can do it during the day. Why do you have to come up with this cheshbon that people it's easier to push off your sleep? The nearly the Second Perek. The kol mishamal le'ivari tamid shabein arbaim mikevesh lemizbeach hayitzarich li is ner b'layla achis achlu shem yipuku me'al mizbeach she'achson la'rocha. He says, you know why? Because it wasn't a one-time job. If you were the one to be makta the ivarim and chalavim at night, you had to wait until basically, I guess till chatzos. You had to wait to make sure nothing popped off the mizbeach that had to go back on. So you actually had to stay up late. So no one's who says going to be interested in this. You have to stay up till chatzais. That's geshmak. That's another asking geshmak. Doing the hektik chalav requires you to stay up late. So maybe people wouldn't be interested in that. So Mars Terrace is, you're right, but it's still easier to stay up late than it is to wake up early.
Why don't you require you to stay up late? It's just that if you didn't do it earlier on, you can still do it.
Because if things would fall off, it would pop up. And we spoke about things popping off the mizbech.
Right,
there's something way to fall off, you got to put it back on. So if you got to stay vigilant the whole night, or at least till chatzos. Okay. Okay, that's just how many is it? Really two takanas or not? Okay, let's go one more Gemara here. Ubizman shein merubin, when there was a lot of Ubizman shein merubin, when there were a lot of kahanim, so then they run up. Amar Papa, pshitali, it's simple to me that arba ames da ara. We're trying to figure out which ara. The Mishnah is a little bit vague. The Mishnah just says that Razin va'elim bekevesh kol hakodim es chaver ba'arba ames zacha. In what arba amas? So pshitali arba amas the ara lay ratzin lay. It's pushing me that we're not talking about on the ground because ratzin va'elim bekevesh. It says that you're running and going up to kevesh. Kamais and amile. It's not the first 4 amas because ratzin va'oilin bekevesh. It says that you're going up. Okay. V'hadar kol hakodim es chaveri. And only after you're running up on the kevesh, that's when you're going to be zeicha. So it can't be the first 4 amas. The beini nami loy. It's not going to be some random 4 amas in the middle. Play misayim milsa because what 4 amas is it going to be? Okay. So pshitali the gav mizbech tanan. So it must be 4 amas close to the mizbech. Okay. So that was pashit. What's your papa's shaila? But your papa arba amas sha'amru. Bahade Amma Yisaid v'Amma Seivev? Is it including the Amma of the Yisaid and the Amma of the Seivev? Is that included in it? Aidilma Barme Arma Yisaid v'Amma Seivev? Or is it not including that? Is it within? Is it 4 Ammas away from the Mizbech or 6 Ammas away from the Mizbech? Do we include the Yisaid and the Amma? So that the Gemara lives as a take. Now, on the in the Dirshu notes here, it brings a great shaila, and it's like this. First of all, Papa, like, why are you asking the shaila? Like, what's it nageya? Yeah, which four amas? So yeah, Kavana, Kasha, and Amaisha. Which four amas did they run to? They knew what they ran to. Like, what's in the Geya? So one teretz is he's asking the Kshavi Mashiach. You know, we have to know what the halach will be, maybe, which is also sure because now we're already doing.
Who asked this?
Who asked the kasha?
Yeah.
Or Papa asked the kasha.
No. Who asks what does it make a difference?
I don't remember. Somebody. I'm asking kasha. Who cares? Who cares? So, I mean, it's also because we don't do that. We don't do it anymore. We do a pious now.
Right.
So who cares which
No,
Quran
that's,
is? It's not. So I forgot who gave it, but Carbon Ashim gives a teretz. Kishmak a teretz. He says the halacha. This is we're familiar with the halacha that arba amas shel ad b'koinalei. A person's four amas are kind for him. Okay. So the Papa Shaila is if you have a square of four amas, how long is your diagonal? So it's what, 4 4/5, or 5 3/4, 5 3/4, right? 5 4/5, whatever. Pi times what is it? A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right?
Teach them also.
What? No, we learned it in Sukkah. That was A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So that was Pythagorean. That I remember. Pythagorean's theorem. So you would get almost 6 amas, a kitzur. Right, the diagonal is almost 6 amas. If you have 4 by 4, and I think it's 5 and a change, so then that was his shaila. Is the 6? Is it? Meaning, I'm going up on an angle over here, right? So when you hit 6 amas away from the mizbeach on your angle, so then if you would go a straight line, it would only be 4. You're only 4 amas away. When you hit 6 amas away on the angle, if you were able to go straight, you'd be 4 amas away from the mizbeach. So that's a shayla. When we say arba amas, kind of like, do you get the diagonal of something also?
I mean, in general, not just in the.
Yeah. I mean, lagabe halach is when arba amas are kind of. If there's a mitzvah, that's a diagonal. I don't know, and your diagonal at 6 amas. So since it's a part of, is the diagonal of your is your 4 amas by 4 amas square. If anywhere in that square is kind of used, then you'd also get something which was 6 amas away from you. A little less than 6 amas away if you're on one side of the diagonal. If you get a square of 4 amas by 4 amas, so then the diagonal would be close to 6 amas. Something like that. Okay. Kishmak, we shall continue. Have a wonderful evening.